my blankie. I don't care that I'm in my car with my blankie. I am in my blankie, and I am smugly because it's cold as freak, and it's about to be hot as freak around 3-2. Then it's gonna get back cold, and I don't care because we're here to talk about particle physics, quantum theories, so many things that are mind-boggling. Because of that, I'm just finna go and ramble. If I can set my phone up correctly, like so. Yeah, we're just gonna set it like this. Who else would have the balls? The testes. Who has the masculine genitals to do things like this? Me. So any ways, hold on. Before we can, I gotta go get my salt. Hold it. Give me my salt. Here. Bring it here. There you go. There you go. Give me my salt. Yeah. We have the sodium chloride. Yeah. We have our sodium chloride. Now let's talk about particle physics. Since I gotta... screw it. Let me let y'all know. Particle physics. How a particle can be both a wave and a particle at the same exact time. But only when you observe. You see, here's what it suggests. Right? Gravity. Let me put this into perspective for you. Gravity is everywhere, quote unquote, even though I don't believe in it. What's stated is that gravity is everywhere, but it's just on a weaker level. So are electromagnetic fields, just on a weaker level, especially when you get to the smallest quantum particle. Now, assume, right, the double slit experiments and everything that came afterwards, into which you observe a particle, it behaves like a particle. You don't observe it, and you see the results, and it behaves more like a wave via wave interference, well, constructive interference. My question to you is, if on the smallest particle scales that can happen, what do you think can happen on the macro scale, right? Because if gravity and electromagnets are relatively weak, again, relatively weak in terms of being on a micro scale, imagine what this type of particle physics could really entail in how we would want to make decisions in life. And it really is that deep and serious. Like, has anyone not even made that connection of how every other type of physics is relatively weak when you go on the micro scale? And it doesn't matter because on the macro scale, it's gonna become larger anyways. So what do you think is bound to happen if you have something on the micro scale that is powerful? And yet, you translate that or you quantify it in such a large scale. Basically, us humans, tables, cars, etc. You wanna know what's gonna happen? You're gonna have situations where you observe a certain outcome and that outcome happens. Meanwhile, you don't observe an outcome and you let probability take place. And I think that really says way more about our universe than people really give credit for. Because I'm gonna be 100% real and honest with you. The fact is, we factually are living in a world of probability as long as we don't check in on it. And I truly believe that. And there's this other experiment that they did. And I didn't want to go into it in my last video, and I'm gonna go into it now, where they basically had a camera. They basically had a camera that was, I think, delayed. Either way, The experiment happened, and then it got sent through another thing. Again, I gotta double check this and fact check it so I can better explain this. But then it was like they viewed the particle later after capturing it on the camera, and lo and behold, it behaved like a particle. But as soon as no one's seen it, now it behaves more like a freaking wave. And that experiment after the double slit experiment basically hinted at the possibility of it being able to time travel or know what you were going to do before time even had the chance to really say or do anything, which is weird. And again, it's like, and the easiest way I can say this is if you want something to happen, then just let it go and don't observe it trying to happen. Otherwise, it will not happen in your life. And the connection I'm trying to bring with this science and with the metaphysical is the fact that this is possibly the root and foundation of how manifestation happens. Is when you constantly observe something that you want, it tends to work in more like a reality type of way. But when you don't focus on how it comes in, no matter how many times it may try to come in, you're like, screw it, it's gonna happen one way or the other. That's when possibilities happen. That's when those wave constructive interferences happen to the point where there are specific pressure nodes that can happen in any freaking region. Like, sure, the strongest one is probably the most possible. But then you have the ones that are there and they are there, but not as strongly, but they can still happen. And that's the beauty of constructive interference. Because no matter how strong that center beam is, the ones on the sides are not as strong, but they're still there, especially in terms of wave physics. So you combine that and replace the concept of pressure with possibilities of what could happen. Now all of a sudden reality tends to bend to your will. And honestly, it's like the science is there to support why people believe in manifestations. Like, it's there. But because people just don't believe in it like that, they'll just experience the particles. They won't ever experience the wave. Into which I just made this connection. That's how you would really go with the flow. You go with the flow because you have way more possibilities than if you were to behave like a particle. There's nothing wrong with behaving like a particle. But when it counts for you to behave like a wave and go with the flow, there tends to be a bit, I wouldn't even say a bit of friction, but a bit of, dang, I wanted this like this, but I only got this because I kept on observing this. That's what tends to happen. So again, because it is, I would say look at your life like the double slit experiment. You can keep observing and being like, this is how it's gonna happen, this is how it's gonna play out. And you can observe it and it actually plays out like that. Or you can just be like, I'm gonna do this and whatever happens, happens. Cause you might not know. But that one constructive interference pressure node that is far on the left or right that wouldn't have ever happened could be happening. You would not even know. And that's what's so hilarious. What's hilarious, right, is if other nodes are destroyed. That's the thing about it. And I haven't really taken that into consideration. What happens if you created a constructive interference pattern via wave physics, but then you basically collapse all but one node? Well, then all of a sudden you just keep doing you don't get it, at least in the high pressure node region. But then there's still one left that allows you to get it. It's there still, but you wouldn't have ever gotten that if these were still available. Meaning, if this strong one disappeared, these two would have been next. If they disappeared, those two, it would have been a 50-50 chance between those two. And if the one on the left destroyed, the one on the right would have happened. And I believe that's the one thing about wave particle physics is what happens when you collapse multiple nodes at the same exact time. Not by interacting with waves, but by just erasing it somehow. See it as basically you moving your hand randomly on a piece of paper and you accidentally created a wave interference pattern. And suppose you were to have 5 nodes, but you erased 4. What do you think would happen? Me personally, you'd just be left with 1 node. And again, I still believe in the fact that reality does bend and shape to your own will. I still believe that because I've had it happen. Especially when people said that something is supposed to be impossible. I've had the impossible happen. I just couldn't put a science behind it until today. So, yeah, that's a bit of particles physics. And I want to get into Schrodinger's cat, which also explains another layer to this. Schrodinger's cat is basically you put a cat in a box and you put a vial of poison in the box too. And at a random time, you don't know when that time will go off. The poison will break and get on the cat, and the cat will die from the poison. And the key thing is, you don't know if that cat is alive or dead until you open that box. Like, take into consideration how the smell is sealed. You can't hear the cat. You can't see the cat. You don't have any senses that can sense whether or not that cat is alive or dead. Meaning, until you open that box, the cat is both alive and is dead. And it's the same thing with quarks and quantum particles. Confirmation, they can be seen as both in one state or another state at the same exact time. And it is not until you observe those particles that they are one way or the other. Meaning when you don't observe them, they are just random things. But when you do, they tend to take shape based on. And here's another thing. It's based off of what the observer wants to see. It's weird. Again, I'd have to fact check this, but it's weird because it's basically working off of what the observer wants to see, which kind of hints at the fact of how our reality is linked to our brain / consciousness in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And again, I will put this theory out into which our brains, our electromagnetic fields up here are able to slightly, and I do mean slightly, affect our reality in ways that can only be compared to the butterfly effect. That into which you're guaranteed to get what you want, but the process that into which it happens on such a micro scale, but domino effects in chaotic ways to the point where you get it, but not the way you want. And if you don't know what the butterfly effect is, it's chaos theory from Jurassic Park. Because tiny variations, and I love how Ian Malcolm really said this, tiny variations really obscure the same exact action. Like you put a drop on a hand, you have the hair follicles that could switch the direction. You have the wind, you have the bumps, you have the bumping car, you have the heart rate inside of your freaking hand that's pumping through you all constantly. All of these really add to literally everything. Like there's so many things that people just cannot account for. Too many variables that people cannot account for, which is what makes the butterfly effect so beautiful, because anything can happen, any variable. And here's the most important thing. Any condition can be set to the right condition at any point in time, and you wouldn't know it until you either make an action or you don't make an action. And that is, again, why I still love the butterfly effect. because the conditions can already be there. All it would take for you is to just do something or not do something. And all of a sudden something random can happen that can cause a situation to just blow up into proportions in the best and worst of ways that you never really considered would happen. And again, it's just like when people say that scientists have a favorite scientific principle, they are 100% right. And this is mine. Because I love the fact of how, if the conditions are right, something small that you can do or that you don't do can really boil over and pop out in the most unexpected ways. There are so many variables that people don't take into consideration, which is how the masses tend to go. Hold on, let me put my phone down. Which is how the masses tend to be caught off guard with this, right? The average person just doesn't think, okay, how is this gonna affect me in the long term? They're just like, oh, I'll just do this. It probably ain't gonna happen. Meanwhile, you didn't know the ice cream man didn't come into work today. The mailman got sick, and your auntie sent your mail a day late, and you were supposed to get it yesterday, but you're getting it today. Now, all of a sudden, because you didn't receive that mail on that date, now there's a time limit on a check that you got to cash, but you can't cash it because you thought you weren't going to check your mail. Or at the very least, you didn't feel like going outside, even when something inside of you said go outside. So guess what? You said, nah, I'm gonna go back, lay back down. All of a sudden, mailman come back extremely late. Boom, can't even give you your mail, so he leaves it in your mailbox. And when he usually stops at the ice cream stop, which would have gave you an extra chance, he can't no more. So he just went on by this way. And so now it's hours later. I won't even say hours, 1 or 2 hours later after you slept in, you go check the mail, you see, dang, TT check came in, but dang, the day into which I could cash it, it's over with. So now, not only can you not cash that check, the money that you would have needed for the day just can't come in. And that's just something, again, I can come up with so many different scenarios of how the butterfly slash chaos theory can really blow up into proportions. The classic one is a butterfly flapping its wings at the right moment can cause a tornado in freaking Texas or halfway across the globe, either or. And again, it's always when the conditions are right, and you don't know if the conditions are right. Nobody knows if the conditions are right. Like, I'm gonna be so honest, you cannot create a supercomputer that can account for literally everything, because it would have to account for itself. It would have to account for the temperature changes. It would have to account for real-time events and things that happens on the macro and micro scale. So much data to the point where when all of that is calculated, what you want it to be predicted has already happened. So now it's just pointless to have a supercomputer just calculate and predict your life, because it already predicted what already happened in real time. Which is another downfall as to how you could possibly and potentially try to predict something. And another great example of this is when this was first discovered and conceptualized, how a weatherman basically just changed one tiny number in a weather system, and all of a sudden it turned from a nice sunny day to a cataclysmic rainstorm, just by the conditions into which certain weather patterns were met. Well, certain environmental patterns were met. And again, with the butterfly effect, you just do not know whether a situation will just blow up into proportions or just stay the exact same. And I'm gonna just be honest. Like, I cannot fathom how amazing. No, take your time. I cannot fathom how amazing, how great, how worse, or how bad a person's life can be just by making a single decision. into which that is why I preach your decisions and your not deciding power is so powerful, because you truly create your own reality. And this can be separated from the science mumbo jumbo. This is, I ain't even finna say the science mumbo jumbo, what you would consider the spiritual. Like, I don't care if you clown it or not, I still believe in the spiritual, and yet even the science still says it. You can have a random situation happen to you and it would scientifically make sense. You can literally have many situations that if you make that decision in the moment, you may think it is wrong, but then later on you see that it's the right freaking decision. And I say that to say this: you have way more power than you truly think just by making decisions. Your power and choice is your free will, which is why, to those of y'all who do believe in God, our highest source, the one above all, that's why, especially the Christian God says that you have free will, but listen to me. Because that omnipotent being can see all possibilities, can see exactly what will happen if you make that decision. But that omnipotent being does not interfere with your decision making. It can create a strong enough emotion inside of you, which, again, another topic for another day, but at the same exact time, you are the only one that can make that decision. You are the only one who can change your reality, can direct it in the way that you want it to be. Can't nobody else except you make those decisions. And what's funny is the fact that those who are trying to control your life, you can make just one small slip up that they didn't account for, and all of a sudden their controlling tactics just fail horribly, tremendously, meaning this is something that people who are controlling just can't get a hold of. You cannot control the butterfly effect nor chaos theory because there are too many variables to account for, especially with how your emotions are, how your environment influences everything, how the specific time and day influences everything, how the specific color and how you interpret things influences everything. No matter what, whether it's chaos theory, butterfly effect, or it's just you wanting to make a small decision, or just you wanting to be in a better place in life, I want you to know you have the power. You have the power to really direct your life in ways that only people from the outside could really say is magical. You are the only one in control, and you are the only one in power in terms of what you do for your life. No one else can make those decisions for you. It is not only a gift, it is a right for you to make your own decisions in life, to get to the places where you want to be. Take responsibility, especially for your own actions. Even if you do the bad things, take responsibility for it. Take responsibility for it. Take responsibility for it. And I'm going to leave it at that. And as always, stay peaceful, blessed up, miracle up, and know that you will appreciate what's taken care of by divine one above all high source God, as well as everyone that truly and genuinely cares about you deep within the souls. I remember that here you are loved. We care about you here. If no one else does, we do. I do know that no matter what, we are always here to give that listening ear. Don't be afraid to talk to us. Don't be afraid to talk with us. We're always here for you. When you need somebody to talk to, that community tab is always on my YouTube. Hit it up. We're always there, especially if you need somebody to talk to. Don't forget to love yourself. Love yours before you love anybody else, because self-love truly shines when you, especially when you give it to yourself. It truly shines when you're able to give it to others. Keep the faith up. Know that you are loved. I love you. And those who care love you too. Okay? And don't forget to smile today, okay? Okay. Now come in for this hug. Yeah, come in. Yeah. Now, Olivia, Deku, and Emmanuel, hello, hello, and hello. And also goodbye. And as always, he is a shape he said, adios.